Welcome to Esoteric Truth. I'm your host, Trinity, and today we're going to talk a bit about the recent weather conditions and some things you can do to prevent chaos when extreme weather ensues. For possible frozen water, fill washing machines, bathtubs, and anything that can hold water with water, including pots. Some water will be for food, some for drinking, and some for flushing. If you find yourself choosing between drinking water and bathroom flushing water, when you're finished with one of the pots or the containers, you can fill it with snow, bring it inside. When it defrosts, you can use it to flush. As far as food, it surprises me that some people will wait till the last minute to buy food. There are a few things that you can do in advance to prevent this, and this is especially for those that are on a tight budget and may not have money on hand to buy things when they happen unexpectedly. There are some things that you can cook in advance and reheat, like pastas and soups. I prefer pastas and soups because the pasta is very filling. The soups, you can add as much stuff as you want. You will be making it in advance, and it helps to keep you warm as well. Now, if you have a large family and you're concerned with not having enough space in your fridge or your freezer, that's okay. If there's snow outside, you can take the food, place it in an airtight container, and either put it in a cooler on the porch or in the front seat of a car. When you're ready to reheat, just go right outside and get the food. Now, if your electricity goes off for a while, here are a few tips for that. Try to keep everybody in one area, which should be the warmest room in the house. If you keep everybody in one place, it's easier to enclose it, to cover the windows, underneath the doors, and to find any cold spaces and actually cover them up as much as possible. It's just easier not to have everybody scattered around. You guys will build them on because you guys are going to be stuck in this area, but it'll be warm and you guys will be a lot more comfortable. Be sure to cover your ears, your fingers, your toes. These tend to be the things that get cold the most. If you have no gloves, you can put socks on your hands and cover your head. That's so helpful to cover your head. If you don't have a hat, or if there's a lot of people in your house and you don't have hats for everybody, you don't have gloves for everybody, there's unexpected company in your house, don't be afraid to say, hey, I got some socks here. Put them on your hands. Take the pillowcases off of your pillows. Wrap your head with them. Anything that you could possibly do to make everybody more comfortable. Okay, this is not one of those times to be embarrassed or, to have everybody feeling uncomfortable, because things will become even more chaotic than they already are. Also, if you need warm water and you have access to your hot water heater, you can get a hose and hook it up to the bottom of the hot water heater. There's a little spigot on the bottom. A lot of people do not know that. There's a little spigot. If your water had just recently shut off, or your electricity and your water, the hot water heater will still have hot water reserved inside the hot water heater. The longer you wait, of course, the cooler that it's going to get, but you will be able to get some hot water from there at that point. But let's say that it's the next day and for some reason you desperately need warm or hot water. Here's a way to do that if you live in a home and you know how to access your hot water heater. Get a hose. Now hook up the hose to the bottom of the spigot. Leave the hose outside. Try to leave it on concrete. Do not leave it in the snow. If you leave it in the snow, it's not going to work. Try to pick it up or put it on a bench or try to put it up in some way. Leave it in the sun. This will heat up the hose and the water that's exposed. I'm sorry, the water that's actually in the hose that's outside. Now, the longer you leave it, the warmer or maybe even hot it's going to get. Soon as the sun starts going down, immediately turn on the spigot and hot or warm water will start to come out of the hose, and of course shut it off when the water starts to get cold again so you don't ruin the warm water that you just got. Also a great tip, whatever water you use, either for bathing, for cooking, or for washing, don't dump it outside. Use it for your toilets. And also remember, as long as you have plenty of containers, then you will always have 50 gallons or more, depending on your hot water heater size, of water you haven't even touched yet. That always stays full. It will always stay full. So always remember that you still have 50 reserved gallons or more, because some people have a much bigger heater, hot water heater. If you have neighbors and they're in a similar spot, you can always talk with them about this. And the more that the both of you are prepared, or the more of you that are prepared and unified, the easier things will be. Don't be afraid to ask or to share. The most important thing with these types of situations that I find that families are struggling so much, and you have a neighbor to your left, you have a neighbor to your right, you got one in front and you got one behind you, and all of you are suffering separately, when all of you can come together and work. And everything else will just be fine. You know, let's say I have potatoes and I don't have aluminum foil, but my neighbor does. We can both eat by sharing the necessities and sharing the things that we both have. Don't be afraid. You don't have to love your neighbors or even get along with your neighbors, but just have a clear cut understanding that when it comes down to survival, you will need more hands, you will need more things, and you will need more people. Try to at least have some kind of an understanding with the people that you're surrounded by, and I promise you things will be so much easier. Now, if you have small children or infants, of course you have to be even more prepared. Here are some tips for children and infants to be more comfortable and parents less stressed out. If you have an infant and there is a possibility of you losing water, of course, pre-fill all of the bottles. That is not to be used for anything else other than food for the baby. This way, you don't have to touch the reserves, and the baby will always have food readily available. Now, it might be impossible for you to heat the baby's milk to a very warm temperature, but if you know that it's going to be around the time to feed your baby, make the formula and put it under the pillows or blankets or something like that, so it's at least room temperature, so it's not shockingly cold to a baby that's used to very warm milk. That will cause an extremely irritated baby. Now, as far as little kids, you might find this weird. I have my youngest here, and we go through that, me living out here in the country, if we have to be without electricity for a few days or the water freezes. I keep her very active during the day. There are things to do. You can make it fun for the kids. They don't have to know what's really going on, especially if they're very, very young. You know, you can make a game out of it. You can take them outside. You can do all these other things. It's going to be cold, but it's so important for you to teach your children not to have this complete panic attack every time something like this happens. We already have a drill here. We already know exactly what to do. Everybody has their part. And when we know that things are, especially if we already know a couple of days in advance, of course, that's easier. But it's also very important for you to have a game plan for things that happen unexpectedly. Also, don't be afraid of using your grill. If you have a grill, if you even have one of those little hibachi grills that you can put outside, those are absolutely wonderful to have. Because you can either use sticks, which they'll be wet. Hopefully, you'll be able to have some charcoal or anything like that, or even boxes or anything that's flammable that'll work really quick. That's always really helpful. Now, let's say you happen to have left your grill outside and now your grill's covered in snow and the bottom is wet. It defeats the purpose of you actually putting charcoal inside of it because it's not going to light properly. If you have a couple of bricks or you even have a couple of cinder blocks, I'm going to leave a picture of a pit that I built myself with cinder blocks, some bricks, and some oven grates that I was able to get for a couple of bucks at a Salvation Army. I use that when it really gets complicated. If I have to, I know that I can heat up water, I can heat up food, I can heat up anything that I need very quickly and easily. If you live in an apartment building and you do not have access to these things, aluminum foil and putting your food out on the windowsill or actually doing this on the roof. Now, you could get in trouble if you live in an apartment building and you do this on the roof if you get caught. But hopefully that's not going to happen. Like I said, this, especially when you're living in the city, getting a lot of people involved is the best way to get this done. It's the number one way to get this done. Even if you don't get along with your neighbors and they see you actually trying to make a difference, they see you preparing, they see you doing these things, don't think this is going to be a Mad Max scenario and they're just going to beat you up and take your bag of rice. That makes no sense. Okay? You see someone, they see you, survival instincts will kick in. And everybody's going to want to help. They're going to say, holy crap, this person has a plan. Let's see what we could all do. You would be surprised. If you were to get 3 people on the 3rd floor to all work together with all the things that I'm bringing up here, everybody would be just fine. You wouldn't even realize that you guys have no water and have no food. Because everybody will have a place. Everybody will have a job to do. And this will be so helpful to everyone. Now, if you want a quick solar stove, you can get a shoebox. And I'm dead serious here. You can get a shoebox. Shoebox and some aluminum foil. Now, you take the shoebox. It doesn't matter what size box it is. It could be one for boots. Or it could just be a regular shoebox. Put aluminum foil in the box. Place whatever food in foil. Let's say you're going to make a potato. I don't know what you're going to make, but let's say potato. Get the box, fill it up, completely cover the bottom of the box with the aluminum foil. Try to cover the sides as well. Anything that the sun is going to touch, cover it in aluminum foil. Take your potato, wrap it in aluminum foil, put it inside the box. Do not cover the box. The top of the shoebox, you will cover with aluminum foil. You will face the box towards the sun. Wherever the sun is beaming the most at that time, you're going to put that box right there in front of the sun. Now here's the kicker, and what's really going to heat your food up even faster. You're going to take the top part of the box and you're going to lean it towards the sun. Now you may have to tip it a little bit to actually get the sunlight to beam directly in the box, but this works as an oven. The aluminum foil will heat the top part of your food, and then the reflective light will hit the bottom of the box and heat the inside of the box to heat your food entirely. You could do this with anything. You could do this with fish. You could do this with anything that cooks easily. You can make burgers like this. Like I said, there are third world countries. It surprises me sometimes when people say that these are impossible things. There are countries on this planet that have zero water capabilities of just turning on a faucet and getting it. No electricity. Never had a light in their houses in their life. How do you think that they live? They live on solar. They live on a couple of the tips that I'm going to tell you about here. I will have a survival series coming up soon, but this one I wanted to do because I see a lot of people struggling with the weather that's going on right now. I'm going to leave on my Facebook page, Esoteric Truth Radio on Facebook, I'm going to leave links to the solar stove, and this one you can make with 7 cinder blocks. I'm going to leave an entire blueprint for about 15 to 20 different types of solar stoves you can make yourself. Now this will show you how to do the shoebox. This will show you how to make a solar stove with an umbrella, and it will give you tips and recipes. Now all of these, well, not all of them, but most of them are used in third world countries and were made up by people in third world countries and how they function and how they eat on a day-to-day basis. So preparation is the key to understanding what you can do when you cannot control the situation. And the more prepared you are, the less stressed you will be. If you want, you can add a few tips here as well and on the Facebook page at Esoteric Truth Radio. I look forward to it. Take care.